Maia Vergniory received her PhD with a cum laude from the University of the Basque Country in Spain in 2008. She then joined the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in the US as a postdoctoral fellow. After 3 years, she moved to the Max Planck Institute of Microstructure Physics for a second postdoc. Since 2021, she has been a professor at the Max Planck Institute for Chemical Physics of Solids in Dresden and a research fellow of the Donostia International Physics Center. Maia won the L'Oreal Award for Women in Science in 2017 and the Ikerbasque Award in 2019. More recently, in 2023, she was elected Fellow of the American Physical Society.
Okay. Welcome, Maia. It's a pleasure to have you here. So we would like to ask you, did you ever see yourself doing something different from physics?
Being a physics researcher was never something vocational that I wanted to be since I was a little girl or something like that. It happened progressively because when I was in high school was the subject that I liked the most. And among all the things I could choose, I chose physics, but I also applied to medicine and journalism. And I could see myself being a doctor and being a journalist without any problem.
Very different. Yeah. So could you share the key steps that you took in your career that maybe brought you where you currently are right now?
So I did my PhD in Spain, and then I did 2 postdocs, one in Berkeley and another one in Germany. And after that, I should have been able to get a position. But then we had to face with the economic crisis, so there was absolutely nothing, no position, no funding, no nothing. So I had to extend my postdoc, and this is something that I am totally against because I think we should be stable, have a permanent job earlier, otherwise you deal with an uncertainty that is not fair. And then I started a tenure track position at the university. So then I took a research position, but it was another tenure track. So I became permanent for the first time in Spain 2 years ago. And this should not be an example for absolutely anyone. I think it should be like you do your PhD, you can do 2 postdocs, maybe 4 years, or 1 long postdoc, and then you should be able to start a tenure track. That I would think would be the reasonable and sensible way of getting a position.
So then you would say that it's a job that's very challenging, I guess, but at the same time it's very rewarding. So you think that the rewarding moment compensates all the other difficulties that come in the way?
In my case, yes, because I really like it, especially when you get to understand something that you couldn't understand before. For me, it's very rewarding, but it's something you need to feel.
So you are condensed matter theorist. What would you say are the most interesting aspects of studying materials?
There are many interesting things of studying materials. One is applications. We can develop devices, we can improve technology, improve society in general. But for me, it's more at a fundamental level. Somehow the DNA of the universe is in every material. So you can actually see signatures of our universe in a material. And it's very straightforward to actually, well, it's very straightforward. It's more straightforward than measuring things, radiation that comes from, 300 light years away. In order to prove something is more straightforward to do in a lab. So in that sense, it's very dynamic. So you can develop a theory, choose a material, give it to your experimental friend. He can measure it, he can tell you, oh, this is wrong, or this is right, but I see this other thing. And experimental input is very important, at least for me.
Is it sometimes hard to bridge or to make the connection between theory and experiment?
Sometimes it's hard, sometimes we just don't understand. The advantage of material science or condensed matter physics is that we have quite a lot of control of our system. We can isolate our material, go to very low temperatures, and neglect some interactions, consider some other ones. But there are other effects that we can't control, like, disorder or strong correlations. So we can do connection, of course, but sometimes we don't understand what's going on. But somehow I have the feeling that eventually we always manage to understand what is happening behind in a reasonable amount of time.
Also, I see what you mean, because maybe in this area of physics, what you were saying, maybe the measurements are more direct or more local as compared to other fields. In the last years, you have focused specifically on topological materials. Could you give us a definition of the concept of topology within physics?
Topology it relates to things. On one hand, what is the charge in real space doing? And on the other hand, what is the wave function of the electron in reciprocal space doing? So what happens is there is a direct correspondence on how the, well, this is technical, but what the wave function does in the Brillouin zone. So if the wave function somehow twists, like when it goes around the Brillouin zone, then your charge in real space is going to be localized in a weird way or exotic way. Okay, so because of this twisting within real is related to the dynamics of the electron, you can have a flow of charge that is unique. I mean, it's quantized, it has very low dissipation, it flows with the same resistance, it's very robust, and it's very difficult to kill because it has this topological order protecting it.
Not long ago, in one of your works of highest impact, you developed a method to efficiently find topological materials, and you had a groundbreaking discovery because you found out that a great percentage of the materials found in nature have topological properties. Do you think this can have an impact on future research or future research lines? Or?
Oh yes, for sure, because I was discussing this before with some colleagues from here. So we have topology because we have this geometrical phase that is added to the electron dynamics, and it was neglected for many years. Now we know it's very important because it's very present. I mean, some of us think that we need to reformulate solid state physics, adding this particular phase to understand better the physics that lie behind and to discover new physics. So the fact that instead of being a rarity, it's something quite common, forces us to actually rethink the fundamentals of solid state physics.
As we have seen, your field seems quite interdisciplinary because you use concepts from mathematics as topology and tools from group theory, and then you combine this with quantum mechanics, both from maybe physical and chemical perspectives. Could you elaborate on this a bit?
It also happened in an accidental way. I didn't plan to develop like an horizontal knowledge of anything, and actually the society or the community push you to have a vertical knowledge, like be the expert on something and just that thing. But for me, it was fun to do it this way. But it was unplanned. It has its pros and its cons, of course. On one hand, you have a wider vision. On the other hand, I mean, you can't be an expert in every single detail of your calculation.
Maybe during your career you touched these different fields. You had also maybe a transition from being a younger researcher to becoming a group leader. How was this for you? Is there something that you didn't expect that surprised you?
Yes, of course. The thing is that this happens and is again not planned. No one prepares you for this, and well, at the beginning I guess you make mistakes. I don't know if I can give any advice. I think if you care, things will work out. And then when your group becomes larger, then of course it's more difficult to have the particular attention that you can have for one person. So you need to create synergies, and your group members need to be more independent. And this is something you also need to somehow build, that they can work and they are gonna be supported, but they cannot be 100% supported by you because there is no time, there's no physical time. Yeah, it's a permanent learning job.
Is there any advice that you would give a young student who is hoping to pursue a research career?
There are two things that are important to pursue a research career. One, patience, because it's a long-term thing, and you need to have tolerance to frustration because sometimes things just don't work. And enjoy what you're doing all the time. So it's very important to be motivated, like that you like what you're doing, because if you lose one of those, then you're not gonna be happy. And be wise when you select your surroundings, that you have a supportive network, that they are gonna be there for you when you need them. That is very important. It's a career that requires commitment. Of course, you get compensated because it's a very creative work, and we get to meet very interesting people.
Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I think we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you for the interview.